Hello, everybody. Here we are. We are doing a Bible class again.
There
Finally,
we go.
we've been waiting years and years and years, or maybe just 2 or 3 weeks to do this again. But here we are. And we're going to keep going with our Bible study. We're going to do more from Draw Near to God. Does anybody remember what book of the Bible we're even reading?
Luke.
Luke. We're reading Luke. Can you remember what chapter we're on?
Ready for 7.
Good. That means I need to get my page ready. No, I looked it up. See, what helps me is when I'm drawing on my page, I go, oh, we must have read this part, but we haven't read this part. So that's how I can remember. All right. So we're going to pick up in chapter 7. And the problem is, I'd love to do a whole long episode, but lately my Bible classes with you guys have been 8 to 12 hours long, or maybe just 45 or 50 minutes long. So I'm going to try to do it in a little bit shorter, but we're going to do a tiny little bit that we'll do next week. So we're going to start now in Luke chapter 7, verse 1. So let me get my screen going. All right, can you guys see the page well? I think so.
Yes.
Put that here. Hit that button so it focuses nice. There we go. Okay. And so in Luke chapter 7, and after he had ended all his sayings, who is the he? Who is the his?
God.
It's going to be Jesus. Yeah, it's going to be Jesus. Now, if we'd been just kind of reading through, that would make sense, but it's been a while, so I want to make sure we all know this is Jesus. After Jesus had ended all his sayings in the ears of the people, he entered into Capernaum. And a certain centurion's servant, who was dear unto him, was sick and at the point of death. And when he heard concerning Jesus, he sent unto him elders of the Jews, asking him that he would come and save his servant. And they, when they came to Jesus, besought him earnestly, saying, he is worthy that thou shouldst do this for him, for he loves our nation and himself built us our synagogue. All right, so we're going to start talking about the characters here. We have someone who is a centurion. What is a centurion?
A Jew.
It's not a Jew.
He's a Roman.
He's a Roman. Yeah, that means he's an outsider. What kind of Roman guy is he? What does he do for a job?
He commands the army of Rome.
Yes, he's a soldier. So you guys get to draw the helmet. I'm going to do the kind that has the funny little thing on the top, like the, ooh, I'll do it colored. Colored like feathers. I like drawing soldiers that way. And you can draw his hand with a spear. That's a clue that he's a soldier. All right, so he is a centurion. I'll give him this. Well, red has been typically used for grouchy people. He's not a grouchy guy, so I'll give him purple. And I'll put some purple in his hair, his thing. All right, so there's a centurion.
He's rich.
Yes, he's a rich guy. And I don't know if he would have been a rich centurion or not, but I think in general, he would have probably had some riches more than the average person. All right, so that's the centurion. And what's going on? Why is the centurion in the story? What is he interested in? He had a blank that was blank.
Servant that was sick.
Yeah, he had a servant who was sick, right? I'll put the servant in green. The servant who was sick. All right, so let's draw the sick servant because that's always fun. He's like this, and his tongue is sticking out, and his hand is over his chest, like, oh. You can draw bedraggled hair because he's been staying in bed and he's got bed head. And oh. All right, so here is, man, that servant looks like he's lazy, but he's sick. He's not lazy, he's sick. I'll draw some hair. There we go. Now, the centurion likes this servant a lot, and the centurion wants Jesus to heal this servant. And who does the centurion send to talk to Jesus for him? Did you catch that?
Some friends.
They're not, yeah, and they're not Roman friends, they're Jewish friends. This is really curious. this man sent elders of the Jews. So I don't know if that means they were scribes and Pharisees. Would it be like scribes and Pharisees? And the scribes and Pharisees said, you need to come. This man, this centurion is worthy. He has built us our synagogue. So here we have a Roman centurion. That means he's not Jewish. And this Roman centurion is interested in a servant, not a family member, but a servant. That's a lot of heart, I think, right? I don't know if I can draw a heart on him because I already drew his purple clothes. Yeah, you can see that heart. So he has a good heart, but he also, what did he build for the Jewish people? He built them a synagogue, and I'm trying to draw coins in his, like he's got a big stack of coins, gold coins in his hand. So he's been giving love to people, and he's been giving money to people. This is a really nice guy. This is not the way that typical Romans are being described by the Jews. So this is a really curious thing. This man is a pretty nice man, and I like it. I think that this is a neat part of the story. And even the Jews say, oh, Jesus, please come and help him. All right, so what do you think Jesus is going to do? Is Jesus going to say, not a chance. I don't want to help no stinking Roman.
He's
No, he's going to help him.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he's going to help him, right? All right, so let's see how that goes. And Jesus went with them. And when he was now not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him and said to him, Lord, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that you should come under my roof. Therefore, or wherefore, neither thought I myself worthy to come unto thee, but say the word, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man set under authority, having under myself soldiers. And I say to this one, go, and he goes. And to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. And when Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him, and turned and said unto the multitude that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And they that were sent, returning to the house, found the servant whole. Okay, now this is a longer section where the centurion says some things to Jesus. What can you remember the centurion saying to Jesus? Actually, I'll put the scriptures on the screen in case you can read through it. What are some of the things that the centurion says?
That he's a commander.
Yes, yes. I'll underline some of those parts. I say to this one, go, and he goes. I say to another, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this. So that means he can command things, and those things happen. Okay?
I think what he's basically saying is that he's not worthy to have Jesus under his roof, and he's kind of giving an example that he knows he can command people, but he knows that Jesus is an even more command than him.
Yeah, I think you've got it. So we're going to draw out some of the ideas here on the screen, on this page, and then I'll illustrate what you were saying, Bella, because I think that that's it exactly. One of the ideas he said is, I'm not worthy. I am not worthy that you should come under my roof. He's also saying, don't trouble yourself. It's almost like he's telling Jesus, don't come to my house. And so he's putting up his hands. No, don't come to my house. And is it because he doesn't like Jesus?
No.
No, it's because Jesus, you're too special. So I'm going to draw like, he's not worried, but I'm giving him worried eyes like, oh no, Jesus, you're too nice to come to my house. I think that that's what he's trying to say. If the king and queen of England was coming to your house, how would you feel? A little bit nervous about it, maybe?
Yeah.
You'd have to like clean up your house and clean up your room. Oh no, I'm not worthy. So he's saying, please don't come. I'm not worthy. And Then he starts talking about the commanding. I'm going to put that word commander, because that was what one of you said. And I thought that was good. Commander. Okay. So now I'm going to use the board behind me and we'll draw those ideas that you were talking about. All right. So let me erase this. All righty. All right, get off of that. Okay. So he says, as a, oh, I get to draw him again. I love drawing helmets. So there he is. And he can command instructions, right? He can command people. What happens when, here's his, that's him commanding. Oh, I gotta put the thing on his helmet. All right. What were some of the commands that he gave it as an example? I say to this one.
Oh.
And what happens when he says come?
They
They come. Do you guys, have you ever seen somebody training a dog? Come here, boy. Come here. No. Come here. You can do it. And what does the dog usually do? I'm going to go over here. I don't really care about you. Right. That's not a good commander. Or maybe it's your mom and dad talking to you and they say, little child of mine, come here. What are you supposed to do?
Come.
Supposed to come. So if he says come, somebody comes. If he says go, they go. If he says do it, you do it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, there's a couple ideas here. Sometimes, if you're talking about parents and children, sometimes it's because the children are obedient, right? And the children have love for the man. Does that make sense? Yes. But sometimes you obey because it's a rank or power or authority. If a fireman comes to your house and says, get out of your house, what are you going to do?
Yeah, get out of the house.
You're going to get out of the house because it probably means your house is on fire, you know? And if the fireman comes to you and says, go get a bucket of water for me, are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you do what he says?
It's because he's a commander of the fire department.
Yeah, he's a commander. He has, this is the big person word, authority.
It's to help you and burn down.
Yeah. And so we listen to the policemen, we listen to the firemen, we listen to librarians when they say, and right, we listen to the people because they have authority. Okay, so is the centurion boasting? Hey, I tell people go and they go.
No.
Why is he talking about that?
Kind of saying that he's important is more important.
Yeah. And so he is saying that he has some authority and he has some importance, but he's not just saying it to look good. He's using it because he recognizes that in whom? In Jesus. Because the way he says it is, I also am a man set under authority. Right before he says this, I can say, come, go, and do it. He says, Jesus, just command my servant to be healed. So what that means is this guy, he doesn't just have a heart for a servant, he has faith. What does he have faith that Jesus can do?
Heal his servant.
Mm-hmm. He has faith. I bet if Jesus just says healed, he'll be healed. Because I have, the centurion, I have authority and say, come and go and do it. I bet if Jesus just says be healed, it's going to happen. He says, I know what authority is. And I know that then Jesus has even bigger authority. I'm trying to make authority really big over here. He could see, man, if I can tell just some guy to come and he comes, Jesus can do more. Does that make sense? It's kind of neat.
Yes.
It's kind of neat.
Yes, I can.
All right. Well, let's go back in the text. And can anybody remember how Jesus reacted to that man? What does Jesus do or say or think when the centurion talks that way? And I'll read it here, starting in verse 9. And when Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him and turned and said to the multitude that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And they that were sent, returning to the house, found the servant whole. All right, the word that describes Jesus is he marveled. What does that mean?
A surprise.
Yeah, he was surprised. He was surprised. I think that's amazing. Did you know that stuff could surprise Jesus?
What?
Jesus was surprised. Jesus was amazed. I think that that's just a neat thing to think about. I'll give him a smiling surprise. I think that that's just so great because when he saw the this centurion who loved and who gave and who said, oh, don't come into my house, I'm not worthy, you have authority, Jesus was just so amazed and I think surprised and happy about it. And Jesus says, I haven't found so great a faith. He hasn't bumped into people with as much faith as this centurion. Now think about that. Has Jesus been mostly talking with Jewish people?
No.
Most of the time he's been with Jewish people, all right? Because Jesus is Jewish and his apostles are all Jewish. I mean, a lot of the healing has been with Jewish people. Did the Jewish people know about God?
No.
Yeah, they did. The Jewish people knew all about God. They were looking for Jesus and they were looking for the Messiah, but did they have a whole lot of faith? Not really. But here's this Roman who did. Hey, Elizabeth, I see your hand up. What do you want to say?
They were God's people.
Right. So Jesus is saying, I've been with God's people and I haven't seen as much faith as this guy. That might be a little embarrassing for some of the Jews to think about. It's almost like saying, I've been going to church after church after church, and I haven't found anybody as faithful as this man at any church. Well, we need to step up in our faith. We need to be like this centurion. We need to have a good heart like he did. We need to give and help people, and we also need to have this kind of faith that looks to Jesus, knowing about Jesus's authority. What? All right, and so those servants, they went to talk to Jesus. They went back to the house and they found the servant whole. And so I'll draw the servant here, and he's happy. And he's still going to have his crazy hair, because just because he got healed doesn't mean his hair is fixed yet. So he's still got his crazy hair because he's been stuck in bed for a while. I'm going to give him lots of big old fun hair. But he's happy now, right? I'll give him dancing feet. Right. So there he is. There's a servant, and he's whole. And here's an interesting word. I want you guys to think about this. It says that he was whole. It didn't say healed. Does whole mean healed? Why does it say whole?
It means he's fixed.
Yeah, fixed. If somebody gives you a pizza, let's say you order a pizza from a restaurant and they deliver it to your door and you open it up and 2 of the slices are gone. Is that a right pizza?
No.
No. I want a whole pizza. I want a complete pizza. I want a fixed pizza. And they go, oh, you caught me. And they reach in their pocket and they pull out 2 slices and they put it right back on the pizza. Well, That's not fixed the way Jesus would fix it. That's not whole the way Jesus would fix it, right? But that's the idea here, making it whole, making it, well, the person healed, making them complete. And so that's the idea. Spiritually speaking, if we have sins, we're kind of like that pizza with slices missing, right? And we need to be made whole again. Can you make yourself whole by taking that slice out of your pocket and sticking it back on the pizza?
No.
No, we need Jesus to make us whole again. Yeah. All right, let's do the next story. And it came to pass soon afterwards that he went to a city called Nain. Put this down. And his disciples went with him, and a great multitude. Now, when they drew near to the gate of the city, behold, there was carried out one that was dead, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And much people of the city was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her and said to her, weep not. All right, so he gets to the gate of the city, and what's coming out of the gate of the city? A bunch of people. But what's the story about? It's about a boy who was dead. I'm going to draw X's on his eyes for that.
No.
He was dead. So here he is. He's on this little carrying thing. They're going to take him out to the graveyard. And you know, there's people that are carrying him. It could have been a box. I don't know. But I'm just drawing it like this.
No.
All right. So there's that. And so we've got this. We've got this guy who's this young man who was dead, the only son. It says only son. I don't know. Does that mean he was 7 or 27? We just don't really know. We don't really know. But Jesus calls him young man, so it could be like in the 20s. I don't know. We'll see. And here is the mother, and she's crying. I'll give her lipstick, and she's got her hair. And you know she's going to be so sad, right? Her hands, and she's just weeping. I'll give her red lipstick because she's a lady. And she's got tears coming down her eyes. Right? What does Jesus say? Do you remember what Jesus says?
Weep not.
Yeah, he says, weep not. It says that he had compassion. What does compassion mean?
Mercy.
Mercy. Yeah. It's connected to things like love. It's care, he's got these feelings, right? This is a big important thing to stop and think about. How do we know that Jesus was a loving, nice guy? Well, stories like this. He sees people who are sad because somebody died, and he feels feelings for them. Do you see what I'm saying? He cares. So right now, Jesus is in heaven. What about when he looks down and he sees us upset today?
He cares.
I think he still cares. And that's important to remember, that when we're sad, Jesus can care. He's God and he's big, but he still cares. So they're crying about this dead young man, and he says, weep not. And he came nigh and touched the bier, touching this thing that they're carrying the boy in. And the bearers stood still, and he said, young man, I say unto you, arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak, and he gave him to his mother. Bam. Awesome. This is a big deal. Think about this. Remember this? I know that I have some authority, but I know that you have a lot of authority. I say to somebody, come, and they come. I say to somebody, go, and they go. I say to somebody, do it, and they do it. But do you think that if he saw a young man dead, I'll draw the other hand here. Right? If the centurion, what would happen if the centurion said to the dead man, come?
You wouldn't do it?
You wouldn't.
What if he said to the dead man, go a little bit?
You wouldn't.
Then,
What?
what if the centurion said, hey, I have an idea, dead man. Get up.
No, you won't do it.
Come on, dead man, do it. I have authority. See, so the centurion has some authority and has some power, just like a librarian. A librarian says, shh, and we need to shh. But if a librarian finds you and you're dead under the bookshelves that all fell on you and you died, I don't think libraries are that dangerous, but we're pretending here. Ah! And the librarian comes in and says, be quiet. Now get up and come back to life. I'm sorry, but librarians aren't that powerful. Who is?
Yeah. God.
Because when Jesus says, arise, what happens? He gets up. He gets up. Now, here's the question. Can dead people hear Jesus?
Yes.
Apparently, they're dead. I don't know how their ears work. Can dead people work their muscles?
No.
They're dumb. Like the muscles don't work anymore. But when Jesus said, get up, did the dead person come back to life and get up?
Mama, this
Yeah.
says battery saver. Consider plugging in your device.
So there's a lot of things like that.
Should.
Yeah.
What Jesus said, what Jesus did, changed it. Changed it. This guy had ears that were broken. Where's my red? His ears didn't work.
Broken as a potter's vessel.
Broken as a potter's vessel. His ears didn't work. His muscles didn't work. His ears shouldn't have been able to hear Jesus. That's the power of Jesus. This dead man got up. Right? When Jesus said, arise, that's exactly what the dead man did. And I just think that this is really important to think about. Jesus speaks with the word of God. He speaks with the authority of God. Jesus has all this. And so when Jesus says words, they actually change things. What's really scary is, does everybody who listens to Jesus obey Jesus?
Yes.
Can you think of any stories of people who didn't do what Jesus said? Or can you think of any time in your life when you realized, oh, I didn't obey that rule from Jesus? We need to be like this dead person with broken ears. We need to listen to Jesus. And when Jesus tells us anything at all, we need to do it. All right. So let's do a little bit more reading and then we'll finish up. Young man, I say unto thee, arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak, and he gave him to his mother. and fear took hold. I'm going to underline that. Fear took hold on all, and they glorified God, saying, a great prophet is risen up among us, and God has visited his people. They knew that if Jesus could raise somebody from the dead, that Jesus was a prophet of God. Jesus was God. And this report went forth concerning him in the whole of Judea and all that region about. And the disciples of John told him of these things. And I'm going to read a little bit more of this next bit. And John, calling unto him 2 of his disciples, sent them to his Lord, saying, art thou he that comes, or look we for another? And when the men were come unto him, they said, they're talking to Jesus, John the Baptist has sent us to you, saying, are you he that comes, or look we for another? In that hour he cured many of their diseases and plagues and evil spirits. And on many that were blind, he bestowed sight. And he answered and said unto them, go your way and tell John what things you have seen and heard. The blind receive their sight. The lame walk. The lepers are cleansed. The deaf hear. The dead are raised up. The poor have good tidings preached to them. And blessed is he, whoever shall find no occasion of stumbling in me. Now, this story about Jesus raising this man from the dead gets told to John the Baptist. And the John the Baptist, he believed in Jesus, but he had some questions, and there's some wonder about this moment. But he sends disciples to say, are you really Jesus, or should we look for somebody else? What kind of answer does Jesus give? Can you remember the things that were said? What kind of answer?
He said to the disciples whom John sent, go and tell him what you've heard. And he tells all these amazing things that has happened and that he's done. And so basically he doesn't actually tell John the answer, but he tells him what has happened. It basically says that he is the Christ, even though he doesn't say those very words.
Right, right. He says the kinds of things that if John thinks about those things, John will get the right answer. And you know who already had the right answer? I think this man. Because this man says, okay, I know what authority is. I say go, do, and come, and it happens. And I know, Jesus, I have faith in your authority. And if you tell my servant to be healed, he'll be healed. That's the kind of understanding that John the Baptist needed. And here's the story. Someone who is dead is brought back to life. If someone who is dead is brought back to life in their physical body, what do you think Jesus can do with your spiritual heart and your spiritual body? If Jesus can bring somebody back from the dead, then Jesus is the one with the authority. Jesus is the only one that we're looking for. And I just love that conclusion. I love that idea. Jesus is the guy who can take us from this and bring us to this. And that's what we need. That's what we need. Any questions about that before we close? I'm going to reread this little bit of John next week when we do this. It's going to be more about John, but I wanted to read that as a conclusion because I love that little bit. But any questions about what we looked at here? No? All right. Well, I am going to sign off this recording, and I will see y'all next week. Take care, guys.